you know, there's a lot. You know, about half the comments out there are, well, the Republic. It's another one of these inevitable things. You know, as much as people say it was inevitable that Hillary was going to get the nomination, there was a whole group who said it's inevitable that the Republicans are going to lose. Do you feel that?
No, not at all. I think it could be quite close.
And what do you think the Republicans go at Obama with?
Well,
because we know what the Democrats will go at the Republicans.
That's what I actually wrote about in the current issue of Newsweek, right. and just plug.
Just in case everybody hadn't read it, John.
Gotta move the merchandise. You know. I think they're going to come after him as a dreamy, naive kid, and he'll basically go after John McCain as a warlike, hypocritical geezer. Mm-hmm. Now they'll do that.
Well, if McCain keeps backing himself with the people he had on the stage in Alexandria, Virginia, he'll geezer himself.
Yeah, but you know they'll eventually. McCain's got some smart people working for him, and they'll eventually kind of get that right. And I think that he in 2000, when I covered him very intensively and had a lot of fun covering him, he had quite a number of younger people in his audiences, and he's got a kind of a charm.
To bring all that up. I mean,
yeah, he's got a certain charm that I think will come through,
so
and he's got a fantastic life story.
The charm or the temper?
I think he's got his temper in check. You know, I was with him. One of the really vivid political experiences I've had on the night of the South Carolina primary in 2000, where remember they used racial stuff against his adopted daughter, and it was a really, really nasty campaign. And he had and continues to provide unparalleled access to the media. He once called it one of his constituency groups in 2000. So I was with a couple of his aides, and they had just gotten the exit polls. McCain had just woken up from a nap, and they were going up to his room to tell him that he had lost. And so I'm going up the elevator with them, trying to get what they know, you know. And the door opens, and McCain sees me in the hall, and he says, "Come on in, come on in." I was kind of awkward. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I go in, and it's just me, two aides, Cindy, McCain, and sit down. So I sit down on the couch next to Cindy, and I say, "Senator, you lost. You lost in these groups. You lost among veterans." Which is hard to believe. I mean, he was running against a draft dodger, basically. The guy went into the National Guard to protect incoming from Mexico during the Vietnam War. You know? This is a guy who spent 5.5 years in a prisoner of war camp. I didn't say that about President Bush.
Okay.
But,
okay, well, we know where the line's drawn.
So anyway, Cindy bursts into tears. McCain could not have been calmer. It's politics. You know, so he does keep things in some perspective. He loses his temper with his colleagues, which I find really interesting. He's got a tremendously loyal staff, and usually these guys come back and they kick the staff, like kicking the dog.
Well, Clinton would do that.
Yes, he did do that. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, they're all like very nice to their equals, or you know, and McCain, to his credit, is kind of the
Campbell syndrome.
Yeah, right. McCain's kind of the reverse. He's got a tremendously loyal staff. He doesn't yell at them. But if he thinks that a member of Congress has done something offensive, he will be up in his face saying, "You're a jerk. I can't believe you did this," you know, to one of his colleagues. And they've never heard anybody talk to them like that, because they always just get, "Yes, Senator, oh," and everybody just kissing their fannies all day long. And this guy comes up and is up in their face when he thinks they've sold out on something, and he tells them. And that's more often when he gets mad. I think he will keep it in check. He's a much more disciplined candidate than a lot of people realize.
What do you think will be the part of McCain that will resonate the most with the general population?
I think the life story. You know, I was sitting next to a guy on a plane yesterday who said, "I saw something on you know, CNN or something about John, and they had a picture of him in a prisoner of war camp. I couldn't believe it." I said, this is a well-educated business guy, so you never saw that before? He goes, "No, I heard something about it, but I never really knew what he went through, you know." So that story will be reintroduced to the American people.
Well,
it's a powerful story.
Well, and you know, and in a completely different way, Obama's personal story is very powerful too.
It is.
I mean, you know,
In a
being
different
raised
way.
by a solo parent and, you know, just everything about his upbringing. In a way, it seems that if Obama is the nominee, you won't be able to run against McCain's personal story, and you won't really be able to run against Obama's race. Those things will be off the table.
Well, yes, and maybe some independent committees will do some crazy things, and I think they will. But
I don't know where
that'll be kind of below the radar, and it won't surface the way the Swift votes did into being a kind of a centerpiece of the campaign. I think we could end up having quite substantive, quite civilized campaign.
You wrote that you said that we might actually get a campaign where there's a real debate about war and peace, taxes and spending, duty and hope.
Yeah, and then
You
I said,
actually
or I
believe
could
that?
be dreaming.
Yeah,
the
I know.
next line. But I think there's a chance. There's a chance
But
that
could
that
this
could
be
happen,
because
yeah.
there'll be senators, and senators are so trained in all this, you know, behavior on the Senate floor, and my good friend from Illinois,
Well, you know,
and my good friend
the
from
candidates in a
Arizona.
general election don't usually trash each other to their face anyway. I mean, there's
Yeah.
not really any history of that. But I think it'll be, you know, look, they're already exchanging blows. It started
Yes.
last week, and basically,
They're gentle, but
you
they're
know,
blows.
Obama's saying he wants to be in Iraq for 100 years, and that's terrible. And McCain is saying about Obama, you know, he's full of platitudes and it's empty rhetoric. And so you're going to hear that, a lot of that. You're going to hear Obama talking about the Bush-McCain policies. You'll hear McCain talking about Obama's lack of experience and his naivete and wanting to negotiate with Ahmadinejad in Iran and some of the rest of that. So you know, whether they ramp it up much beyond that, I would tend to doubt it. I mean, they will have a spirited, in the great American tradition, a spirited campaign where they go at each other. But I don't think we're going to look back and say, wow, that was such a dirty campaign when this is over.
Do you think that the level of public interest will sustain itself? Because it's been remarkable numbers of people going to the polls.
Yes, I do, and I think that tends to advantage Obama. You know, he won by a larger margin than his margin of victory, not the total number of votes he got. His margin was larger than the combined votes of McCain and Huckabee.
The Democrats are more passionate about voting.
In many of these primaries, and in swing states like Virginia, where you have just a lot more Democrats going to the polls.
How many times do you think we'll see images of McCain and Bush embracing from the endorsement?
Well, they'll try to do some of that. I think the Obama people will try to do that. But you know, there are also external events that could intervene. You know, you could have another terrorist attack. You could have Bin Laden surfacing.
And it's ridiculous to even talk about any of that stuff, because it's like trying to predict what's going to happen with what I wasn't going to talk about out in outer space tonight.
But I do think that there's a possibility that that Obama could win big, and also a possibility that if he could blow it and lose fairly sizably. Whereas with Hillary Clinton, it was, you know, I think it was either she was going to win 51-49 or 49-50. The problem, Carol, is the math, and we haven't really talked about that. But she has to win about 60% of the last less than 1/3 of the states that haven't voted yet, and to do that week after week. That's at this point. That's really hard. She's going into some states where the demographics don't favor her after Ohio and Texas.